News 4 celebrates Black History Month. No one captured the Harlem Renaissance quite like Aaron Douglas. His murals and other artwork define the era and the Black experience in New York. Born in Kansas, he moved here in the 1920s, finding fame as a book illustrator and then large-scale painter. To this day, many consider him the father of Black American art. Aaron Douglas is part of our collective history, and together we are for New York. News 4 celebrates Black History Month. With dignity and grace, power and perseverance, Arthur Ashe was a champion on the tennis court and off. The Virginia native fought through discrimination and poverty to become the first African American to win the men's singles titles at Wimbledon and the U.S. Open, and become the first Black man ranked #1 in the world. A dedicated humanitarian, he also became a tireless HIV and AIDS activist after he contracted it through a blood transfusion. Tennis centers across the country are named after him today. None more famous than the Center Court Stadium at the National Tennis Center in Queens. Arthur Ashe is part of our collective history, and together we are for New York. News 4 celebrates Black History Month. General Colin Powell lived a life of exemplary service. The son of Jamaican immigrants, Powell graduated from Morris High School in the Bronx and City College of New York. His military career started with 2 tours in Vietnam and ended with then General Powell being named as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and later Secretary of State. He was the first African American to hold either position. Soldier, statesman, humanitarian, and trailblazer, Colin Powell is part of our collective history, and together we are for New York. News 4 celebrates Black History Month. Ebony Magazine evokes visions of ultimate style, class, and success. Founded by John Johnson in 1945 to celebrate Black achievement, while sister publication Jet focused on news, it's renowned for features like the Ebony Power 100, the annual list of the most influential Black people. Today, after more than 75 years, Ebony lives on online as a digital publication still dedicated to moving Black forward. Ebony Magazine is part of our collective history, and together we are for New York. News 4 celebrates Black History Month. Road warriors for equality. Freedom riders were fearless in the face of so much hate. In 1961, the group of Black and white civil rights activists took bus trips through the South, protesting segregated bus terminals. Despite arrests and savage attacks by protesters, hundreds joined the cause, and the government ruled segregation in transit was illegal, a key step toward the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The Freedom Riders are part of our collective history, and together we are for New York. News 4 celebrates Black History Month. Every time you safely navigate an intersection, you can thank Garry Morgan. Until he applied his brilliant mind to street safety in the 1920s, traffic signals were only stop and go, and accidents were off the charts. Morgan changed the world in 1923 when he patented a revolutionary design, adding a yellow light. Garry Morgan is part of our collective history, and together we are for New York.
News 4 celebrates Black History Month. Agricultural scientist, botanist, engineer, and inventor George Washington Carver had a stunning mind. He made 30 different types of dye from the Alabama soil, came up with 300 uses for peanuts and 100 uses for sweet potatoes, including gasoline, instant coffee, and rubber. Born into slavery in 1864, his pursuit of knowledge led him to a professorship at Tuskegee University, where he taught and was a pioneer of genetic engineering. George Washington Carver invented new ways to make our lives amazing. He helped shape our collective history, and together we are for New York.
News 4 celebrates Black History Month. From Ma Rainey's Black Bottom to The Wire to A Different World, actor Glenn Turman has been entertaining us for decades. The Harlem native got his start at the age of 12 performing with Sidney Poitier in A Raisin in the Sun. New York is also where his other love, cowboy life, began. He shoveled the stables in Central Park so he could ride horses for free, and he's been a rodeo champion in his spare time. It's why he's a model now for Beyoncé's Ivy Park fashion collection. Glenn Turman is part of our collective history, and together we are for New York.